Ladies and gentlemen, the lights are dim. There is but one man left on the stage. This is the final recap video for U.S. Nationals. Here with me, I have our 2024 U.S. National winner, Travis Tangeman.
Yo, what is up, my boy Constantine? It feels amazing to hear that said. I have never been better.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, and obviously you said my name. I'm Constantine, Pringlesman in the Discord. Just kind of, jumping into this, we usually have our broad themes for the video. And so I'm thinking, obviously recapping the event, but a bit more of the team focus, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Nice. And so starting point I'm thinking of is like ramping up into this event, ramping up into Nats. What were you thinking about the format? What were you doing to prepare for this?
So my thoughts on the format were initially that there was nothing I particularly enjoyed playing as far as like the meta goes. I'm not a big fan of Zilla. I was not a big fan of Mimic, Pony, any of these like aggressive characters that are just trying to get the game over in 30 minutes and leave, right? Mm-hmm. I've always been a player that enjoys a more like slow, methodical gameplay style. And so my initial thoughts were, I'm going to look for that. My first thought was, well, I'm going to try taking the Death Elder Toguro deck that I won St. Louis with and like retraining that, making it better. Because I think this was like a primo format for it to exist in. You have answers for basically everything in that deck. You have answers to Runaway because you play Showdown and possibly Koenmas. You get to play the Shapeshifter plus all of the Attune stuff with Recuperation Time and like all this other stuff. But what I ended up doing was I got some inspiration to play Krista because I was just scrolling through UVS Ultra one day and I was like, oh, Don't Do This is a repeatable discard out that also has a like very relevant effect. Like it is essentially half of a banned card because we banned Snack Time and that card was egregious, turning any card in your hand into 1 speed and stun 1, which is essentially 2 speed for the whole turn. And just like, that's probably insane. If we can stack a bunch of counters and then draw a million with Wall Marias, it just makes that card free. And then like the gameplay loop of stacking Runaway on top of your deck eternally, like, oh, I really don't want to deal with this one. I'll Runaway it, and then now it's also harder for you to build and attack me. Like, regardless of what you do, your turn is harder, right?
Yeah, and then not to mention the offense is you just get to guarantee your checks and find whatever attacks you want.
Yes. Yeah. Her gameplay loop is very much so my favorite deck of the entire MHA format through all of the sets that we've had so far was Kirishima 2. And that was because the way I built that deck specifically was once I got to a certain point in the game, my kill turn was legitimately unfailable. It did not matter what you did. It didn't matter what answers you had. If I went in, it meant you were dying. And that's what the Krista deck does. Like, once I get to the point in the game where I hit critical mass, I'm killing you and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, it is so crazy. And if anyone watching hasn't like seen gameplay of it, there'll be links to some of the Twitch stream and they can see just how crazy the late game is.
Yeah, definitely. I think the most interesting stream match of mine to watch is definitely my top 4 match against Mitchell. So if you guys haven't seen how the deck plays, go check that out, obviously. And then the deck profile over on the channel, it's Monty, you guys know.
Yeah. And we'll get that back into the shout outs, right? We're fast forwarding, but that's fine. So that was like this inspiration for the Krista deck, right? Seeing just this powerful card and recognizing like the gears are turning. Kind of bringing it back to the team element, at least. I know you'll have to remind me everyone you talk to about the deck. But I'm also thinking of how the testing weekend went, the sort of training camp we had before.
So basically, I believe it was like a week before Nats was slated to happen. David, huge shout outs, essentially said, Travis, I'm going to fly you out and we are going to do a testing weekend for the purpose of trying to make sure that everyone on the team is like up to snuff for Nats, and like we can try and get as many people into top cuts and like as many people performing as best as they can, make sure that everyone is comfortable in the deck they're playing, all this kind of stuff. And so he flew me out. We had a wonderful weekend. We got to do a bunch of cool stuff. I got to hang out with the team. Basically just, it was fantastic. I loved being able to test with everybody. That was an amazing experience. We didn't even play Universes the whole time. We played some Commander. We just basically, it was a blast. At one point, it was like 8 of us sleeping in just one room, and just it was fantastic. I remember taking a nap and then waking up and seeing Princess and the Frog on the TV. Just, are you ready? Like, it's so cool. It was such an amazing time.
Yeah, no, it was so much fun, and that's kind of been a theme of a lot of the videos where obviously we have fun playing Universes. Obviously we have fun when we do well, but there's just so much more to this than just the game, right? Like we are at its core just a group of friends that are always having a blast.
Yes, and I think that is one of the main things about our team in specific is that we just like we're always hanging out. We're always like we're so intertwined with each other personally that like we have the ability to like synthesize on all of these things and like kind of make sure that everyone is playing their best. If anyone's going through anything, we're always there to help them. And it's so cool to have that like that intertwinedness and that camaraderie is just amazing.
Yeah, 100%. And so just kind of like marching on with the timeline. That weekend was amazing. But so now we're winding down. We're getting closer and closer. Where we've traveled. We're at nationals. What's the plan going into this event?
So I ended up changing a few cards in my deck. I believe it was like the night before, 2 nights before, based on some testing that Wub had been doing. Shout outs to Wub. Calvin Harrigal. He was one of the main people that I talked to about the deck and like ideas and stuff. And then also some input from my good friend Briella. She was also playing the deck at the event, and one night we were just kind of scrolling through UVS Ultra and like trying to figure out what that last attack in the deck what needed to be. Because originally the last attack in the deck was Determined Dive, and we were like, this card doesn't feel like it's doing enough. We could just be playing something else that contributes to the game plan better. And what we ended up on was like, oh, Dimensional Sphere is crazy in the format. It's really good against Ymir. It's absurd against Mimic. It literally says they're never allowed to Colossus Detonation you ever. Otherwise, they just lose the game because you block it and then it doesn't resolve. Yeah. Both of those cards also have stun and contribute to you gaining counters. So like, it's just like the ideas that we ended up on were so good the entire event. We also ended up cutting, it was originally Soup in the deck, and then we cut it to Knots Flask, and then from Knots Flask we went to Wound Restore because we figured out that we wanted a card that you could play in the middle of your string that would give you some kind of bonus damage. And like, there were so many times during the weekend where I was like 4 damage off, and I would just go, okay, stack my 6 check. Instead of playing another attack, I'll make sure this one does that extra 4 damage, and I can't fail it. So I'll go like on an 8, check a 6, tap 2, take your extra 4 damage and die.
Yeah. Yeah, like the Wound Restore is, I got to see it in Justin's game. I don't remember if I saw it in your match against Rodan, but or against Mitch, but yeah, it was a real heavy hitter for just like closing out the game.
Yeah, I used it to kill Corey exactly in game 1 and finals as well. So that is a relevant moment that it was actually shown on stream. But otherwise, it was also just very good for like, it made my 32 health character base into a 42 health character base if I saw both of them. Which made it a lot easier to keep looping my runaways with like minimal cost, right? Because like if I pay 5 to run away you and then next turn I just gain it all back, it's like nothing happened. You didn't make any progress. You didn't get a momentum. you didn't like do any of these things that progress the game state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sort of like time walking them.
Yes.
And so, so we have our plans going into the event. And I guess now we just start with, day one, like we enter round one. Yeah. What's that like for you?
So my round one, I usually, how it goes for me at these events, I lose round one because my brain is still like activating from the morning. My morning routine when it comes to these events is I wake up, brush my teeth, shower, do all that kind of stuff, and then I blast music as loud as possible into my ear to wake me up. So my neurons are fully firing on all cylinders. Usually that only works about 65% of the way though. So I'm like sitting there in round one. I'm still a little groggy. I'm still waking up. I'm trying to make sure that I'm remembering anything. So that's where I get all of those jitters out. I usually lose the round one, and then I just straight move forward and end up topping from there because I'm like fully activated after that.
We're at 100%.
This time I was fully activated from the jump. I believe I played against Momo 3 in round one.
Yes, yeah.
And I don't think there was any way I could ever lose that game because Krista is built to demolish decks like that. Like these slow, grindy control decks that are trying to eke out little value from their cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I didn't give you the heads up. That's my bad. I do have who you played. I have the decks you played against for the Swiss round. So
gotcha. Fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah, against the Momo deck, any control deck, you are going to stun them out, guarantee your checks, and slaughter them, no matter what their defense is.
Right.
And yeah, with that, was there anything you wanted to, any eventful plays from round one you wanted to mention, or are we good to just keep moving?
I don't think there was anything too noteworthy in round one. Aside from my opponent was very cool. They were very nice, and they had a very cool Chrome Momo.
Oh,
so
nice.
that was awesome to see that in round one.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And so heading into round two, I have that you played against Chaos Godzilla.
Yes. So I played against Mac in round two. Huge shout outs. And the story behind this one is so funny. So Mac in round one played against Briella and just like beat the brakes off of her. And then in round two, I have to play against Mac, and our game was entirely different. I beat the brakes off of Mac. It was very, very, very like 20-minute game, I want to say. I think in game one, I killed them with Walk the Dog, just like powerful stuff. Like I touched them with 2 Krakens and then killed them with a Walk the Dog. And then game two, I touched them with 2 Krakens and I killed them with Armor of the Wolf just for like 15.
Jesus. Yeah. And just in case we don't get a video out for Mac for this event, Mac is also on the team. They top 16 Atlanta. If they top 8'd, I'm going to feel really bad.
It was top 16.
Okay.
Yeah, because I beat them in top 16. That's how I know.
I do. Yeah, I do remember. This is not your first time playing in tournament against Mac.
Yes.
Yeah. And we the team killing that occurs at these events obviously is not the best, but at least you carried it on. You didn't. You're like I'm ending this here, but I will carry you on my back.
Yes, exactly. Always 100%.
Yeah. And so then we're heading into round 3, and I have you played against an All Rodan. I think that one was on stream, but
yes, that one was indeed on stream. Michael Woolline, I believe, very cool guy. I played against him at a lot of events. I am kind of his bracket demon if I ever play against him. So sorry for that, but he was playing All Rodan, and unfortunately that deck just lines up very poorly into what the Krista deck is trying to do. Because like we said earlier, it's one of those control decks that kind of like give you a lot of time to do your thing as long as you are playing good defense against them. Like obviously his deck would just kill you if you weren't playing proper defense, which I think that was one of the like bars that you had to set in this format is if you're playing against an aggro deck and they aren't playing their proper defense, then you have to be able to like keep them on their toes and murder them in a turn if they disrespect you. And that deck was certainly able to do that, but unfortunately the Krista deck just plays like good enough defense that like we can say, oh, like Spirit Gun Final is never touching me because Runaway is very good against it. Patchwork Babies is like awful into Runaway. Yeah, I'll pay one, man.
Sure, you got it,
dude. You got it. And so like literally I just had Runaways and just like, you guys saw it. At one point, I think I played 5 Runaways in one game against him, and just like, there's no way anyone's beating that, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I never asked you about this because it was it was during the Swiss rounds and I didn't reach out about it. But I think you were talking to him about sideboarding after the game. At least it looked like that on stream.
Yes. So we were actually discussing like. He was asking me what he should bring in, and I was like showing him what I brought in because he hadn't played the matchup a lot. So like the other thing about the Krista deck is that it was not on anyone's radar. Like people were not looking at this character for the most part until like it popped up basically. Like until Nats, where she was actually one of the higher represented characters. As far as I knew, people were not looking at that character. Like no one was talking about her. She was just very kind of under the radar. And so he was kind of curious on like how he should be sideboarding into my deck. And I was like, oh, you should bring in like these cards because they're very good against the Runaway strategy and like all this other stuff.
Yeah. A man of the people. He crushes his opponent and then he lets him know, yeah, you should do this next time.
Yeah. So like, I think that's kind of a very important part of my MO is like, I don't want my games to just be one-sided stomps, right? Like when I play at these events and I play against people, I want to be challenged because truthfully, if every game could be like my top 4 match against Mitchell, I would have it be that way because that's how I enjoy playing card games. I want to feel like I am being pushed to the brink in like a game that I am not actually playing. Like my match against Mitchell felt like I was playing chess or shogi, like compared to like actually a card game, right? And that's how I want every match to be if it could. But like, unfortunately, because of RNG and like other factors, it can't always be like that. So when I have the availability to make sure that my opponents are like doing the optimal things and like all this other stuff, I will do that. Because I think anyone can be where I am as long as they put in the effort and they have the knowledge and the ability to do so.
Hell yeah. I was going to jokingly say someone's name as like a gotcha, like the one person named X is watching this video and they're like, he's talking to me. But like all the names coming to my mind are people that I know are in the community. And like, I don't want to like blind dart accidentally call someone out. But yeah, little Timmy at home, even you can be #1 in universes. We're wrapping up on day 1 though, right? Where I have round 4 you played against the Chaos Mimic.
Yep. Round 4 Chaos Mimic. I believe it was like a City Rampage version. And I mean the games, I specifically remember those games being kind of a wash. Game 1 and 3 were just like not close, and then I lost game 2. Just like with some unfortunate variants.
I gotcha. Yeah. And so at least like something I've asked a lot of people on these is like, this it was just 4 rounds for day 1. Like how did that feel for you? Where we've split up these events before, but I don't think we've done a Friday, Saturday, Sunday type of thing for the main event before.
So I think it was amazing. Genuinely. I hope that every event that they do from now on is like that if they have the availability to do so. Just because of the fact that it gave me time to actually do things and unwind before the next day or like the next set of rounds. Because I won't lie, playing like 10 rounds and like getting done at like 9 or 10 or whatever at night and then not being able to do anything when I'm technically supposed to be on a vacation as well is kind of abysmal.
Yeah.
And so like getting done at like 3 or 4 o'clock on day 1 was like, yeah, I get to go hang out with my team and spend like good quality time with the like people that I care about in a different place, and we can like go do things, like go eat, and then unwind for the rest of the day and really like get back to 100% mental capacity, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you after Swiss rounds for Friday, did you guys just go out to dinner at some place you remember, or was it just like?
Yeah. So we went down. We basically walked like 10 minutes away to a different hotel that had like a sports bar inside of it. And it was good. The food was fantastic. And then on the way back, we stopped by the 7-Eleven, picked up random snacks and stuff for the hotel, and then just kind of went back and unwound. And then I believe later on, we ended up going to the Grapevine Mall. Just kind of walk around. I got to go to the Bondi Gachapon shop. That was super cool. And yeah, just a bunch of cool stuff.
Did you get anything cool at the gacha shop? Or
so I got specifically shout outs to Bree. She got me a like blue lock, just a little like blue lock guy, and then a guy from Mashal, like a keychain.
Nice.
That I now just have sitting on my backpack, and it was very cool.
Oh yeah, another memory from the event that's solidified. Not just the trophy, but we got these keychains on the bag too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
I love gifts from friends.
Yeah, who doesn't? But yeah, like so day one, it was great. We're 4-0. Got to eat, rest, relax. We're heading into day two. What was that morning like? Was there anything you want to talk about from that, or?
So that morning specifically, I just kind of went down, ate breakfast, and then just kind of went to the event after that. It was the same routine of like shower, get up, blast music, get activated, basically. And then we were just right into the rounds.
Do you remember the songs that you played, by the way, like for Saturday or Friday, or is it just?
So a lot of my general music taste is like a lot of like heavy metal, like screamo type stuff, and so it was a lot of that, and then also the like hype anime openings that I like. So like a one that frequents is the like main 3 initial D songs that everyone knows. So like The Top, Gas, 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 like that stuff. Just blasting it in my ears because like, you know, The Top, it's about winning. You gotta win.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, and the initial D songs are so great for hyping yourself up. Like, yeah, that is a perfect choice for getting in the mindset.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, we've blasted our beats. We're going in round 5. I think it's another Chaos Mimic you play against.
Correct. This one was not City Rampage. I believe it was Patrick Toombs.
Yes, it was. Yes, yeah.
He was playing the like Reiner 7 diff that says Ruin 1 and then like becomes a damage reset, and like the damage of it can't be reduced. This one was a little bit closer than the last Mimic I played against, but I ended up eking it out just because like our deck was very well set up into playing against Mimic. And like that's obviously the reason why we chose the deck, was because we genuinely felt that the deck had a 50-50 or better into anything in the format, no matter what you threw at it. And I think that is the marquee of a deck that is like A through S tier. Like, I think if your deck has 50-50 matchups and everything and nothing worse, your deck is probably S tier. And so that's why we picked it, obviously.
Yeah. Did the 7 diff has like printed 9 damage on it, right?
Yes.
Did that matter any? Yeah, did it like come up with Runaway or?
It really didn't know, specifically because of the fact. So this is one of the matchups where Wound Restore actually came in a lot, like in handy. Just because, like, oh yeah, I'll burn myself for 9, I'll shove you 1, but like your Mimic, and the thing about the Mimic matchup and why Runaway is like so much better against him, if they have an all asset draw and like they're kind of low on triggers, they can't effectively pass all of their attacks, right? Because they can only tap one asset. Mm-hmm. So like as soon as you start making them play on numbers where it's like, oh, you have to play a 5 diff on a 7 or like a 4 diff on a 6, like there are real chances that you just fail these cards or like tap such a meaningful amount of your board that you can't do a relevant amount of damage to like actually break through my defense.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. You do need Foundations and Mimic to deal with this sort of card pool clogging, or at least, if not card pool clogging, stringing out as far as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we're heading into round 6. I'll save the gushing for round 6 and 7 after we're done talking about it, but this was against a Water Recovery Girl, right?
Yes. So specifically, I have tested that matchup over and over and over and over and over again against Corey Nelson, my wonderful, wonderful teammate who got second at the event playing Water Recovery Girl. And George Zimmerman was playing
Was it George or was it Joseph?
It was Joseph. It was Joseph Zimmerman. Yeah. I mixed their names up because they sound
they
similar,
are close, and they have the same last initial, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Zhang and Zimmerman. So playing against Joseph, he was playing. Basically, Corey had a version of the deck that was version 1, which had an even worse matchup into Krista than the version he ended up playing. Mm-hmm. And Joseph was essentially playing that version 1. And so I was like, oh, well, this is kind of free because that matchup is like 95-5 in Krista's favor. Like, Recovery Girl just can't ever do anything because A, you shut off her momentum with Runaways. She has no way to interact with that card because that deck doesn't play any cancels for it. So you're never giving her momentum for last second rescues and like that stuff, and that's like her main defense. And then Krista also doesn't care about So Manly stuffing because it's like, oh, I'm checking 6s on everything anyways. So like there's no reason for me to have to worry about this.
Mm.
So that one was pretty free.
Nice. I just want to know, did you ever randomly need to use Blue Flame Torment against the So Manly? Was that like I would say that's like a 500 IQ kind of play. Did that ever come up or no? Like intentionally stacking something for the So Manly?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that was just like a big thing for some of the other decks in the format, so I was curious if it like lined up for the Krista deck ever.
Yeah, no.
Gotcha. But and so after Joseph, now you play against George, who's also, this is round 7 on Recovery Girl, right?
Yeah, and he was playing the life version, which I had thought was probably a little bit better suited into Krista, and our games were definitely a lot closer than the games I played against Joseph and the games I played against Corey, but in the end it was still like, well, you can't stop me from killing you when I go in. Like, at one point, I think George had, like, 30 Foundations in game 2. And I played, like, 3 Wall Marias and stunned his entire board out from 30 because I was able to build, like, triple don't do this. All my attacks had stun 4. Everything passes no matter what because I'm checking 6s. I also have 20 Foundations. Like,
it's cooked.
Yeah, like literally that was the Exodia situation. There was nothing he could have done about it.
Yeah. I know, I think the first time you played against Corey in the training camp weekend, or at least the first time I heard you talk about the matchup, was like to the effect of, Recovery Girls ain't shit when you have stun 4, stun 5 on all your moves. Like,
yes,
it's just crazy.
That was the logic. And even Corey was like, yeah, that matchup's untenable. Yeah. It was so funny. Yeah. We can talk about the finals later, but he had a lot of choice words to say about it. That's for sure.
Yeah. And then, before I moved to Top Cuts, round 8 and 9s were intentional draws, right?
Yes. Round 8 and 9 was literally just me and Ryan Levine did math on whether we could just intentionally draw twice in a row, and that determined whether we were going to do that. And so we were both just like, yeah, the math says that we are allowed to. The math says that we're both still high seed if we do this. And so I was like, yeah, sure. As long as I'm like top 2 seed, I don't really care. And so I ended up going into round 9, and then I was like, hey, opponent, would you like to draw with me? And my opponent was like, yeah, sure. And then, yeah, that ended up putting me in first seed because I had the highest records and the best tiebreakers.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And then just before going to Top Cut, the thing I wanted to say about the Recover Girl matchups was at least that I didn't keep track of the like winning in players during the weekend of the event. And so with all these recap videos, I go back to see what you guys played against, and seeing that both George and Joseph were just a winning in away from topping with Recovery Girl, which would have meant we would have had 3 Recovery Girls in top 16. I just feel so vindicated about my bitching for that character. I'm like, guys, this character is so broken.
I think that George ran into like the most unfortunate RNG possible in the last 3 rounds, because he played against me and then he had to win just one of the next 2 rounds, and I think he lost both of them. So he lost 3 rounds in a row, and it's just like, wow, that's super unfortunate.
Yeah, especially because of how powerful she was before the errata.
Correct, yeah.
But unfortunately, that's how the cookie crumbles.
That is true, yeah.
Yeah, we're moving on.
Sometimes you get the bad beats.
Yeah. We're moving on, though. We made it to top 16.
Yep, absolutely.
And so...
go on, you're good.
Yeah, I at least want to give you any time if you want to talk about what's after Swiss rounds was like on Saturday.
Yeah, that's fair. After Swiss rounds, I think we ended up going back to the mall again, because that was our favorite hangout place over the weekend, basically. So we went there, hung out in the food court, got some food from the food court. Unfortunately, Dippin' Dots was closed by the time we got there. So I was actually in shambles. You don't understand. It was such a tragedy.
Top 16, but at what cost?
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying. And then went back to the hotel and we were just kind of chilling.
Nice. And you got a bunch of rest for Sundays, Top Cuts.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we stick to our strategy. We get a good breakfast. We listen to Initial D, and we head into top 16 against Barlow.
Yes. So this was one of the matchups where I think if I went second, like if I was low seed, I probably would have lost to Barlow, just because of the nature of his style of Mimic and like how he plays the game with that character. Game 1 was not even close. Game 2 was not even close. He rolled me because I went second. And then game 3 was almost close. I built 4 on turn 1, one of them being the Award the Victor, and then the other being Horrifying Realization. So I had that combo on turn 1. I review, and then I'm at 3 counters after review. Or I'm at 2 counters. I play Wall Maria's just on a 5 to like draw a card, and then say, hey, if this touches you, I'm going to stack it, and then I'm going to draw it, and I'm going to draw 2 more cards. And like, you will lose the game if this touches you, basically. Just because of the sheer amount of value I would have gotten. Like, he takes 10, and then also I draw 3 cards. Like, that's insane. And so, needless to say, Barlow goes, well, I have to check a 5 because he had 4 Ready Foundations plus his character. He had 3 Ready Foundations plus his character. And so he goes, because I stunned him 1 on the first Wall Maria's. And so he goes, all right, on an 8. And he checked a 3 because he tried to block with the struggling. And I go, all right, dude, respond, stack it, Horrifying Realization, draw more cards. And he's like, well, I think I lost the game, Travis. And I was like, yeah, I think you did. That's what I love about like having matches and top cuts with people that I know and like people that I have interacted with or played games with a bunch, is like the games are just so chill, and we are both like so objective about what's happening in the game because we know that like it's not a big deal either way. And so he was like, well, I think if I check a 3 on this, I lose. And then it happened. I was like, yeah, I think you lose. And so that ended up being also kind of a sweep game. But overall, just very fun games. I'm glad I got to play against Barlow again. I believe that also put me in a positive record against him at tournaments. So because I believe we were 2-2 before that. So nice. I'm now in the lead.
That's what mattered. Nothing else about this event. Just that exact match win.
Exactly. That's the most important part.
Hell yeah. And so, obviously we move on, and I have you play against Connor on Earth Pony, right?
Yes. So my match against Connor specifically was Pony is a very easy matchup for the deck. And that was another deck that we had in the back of our mind, but we were kind of thinking of a different version of Pony, like 4-diff spam, try and draw as many cards as you can on turn 2 and blow them up. He was playing City Rampage Pony, so it was a little bit more dicey just because, like, obviously if he draws the nuts on 2, it's like the double City Rampage plus 5 attacks draw, like I could just explode.
Yeah.
But that is not something that ever ended up happening, and then after a certain point, I just can't die to Pony playing Krista.
Yeah, and I'm sure the Runaways obviously came in clutch against the string deck.
Yeah. Runaway plus Struggling with Studies was the MVP of that match, just because, like, obviously Pony's going to attack you 3 times. So, like, if you run away her and then on the 3rd attack pick it up and do it again, she's just not going to be able to play the game anymore because she's very, like, fundamentally based on being able to clear her card pool, and if you keep it clogged and make her play on real progressive, she will not have a good time.
Yep. Yeah. That is how Pony will fall. And so moving into top 4, the anime match of the event.
Yes.
One on stream.
So my match against Mitchell was probably one of the best Universes matches I've played in a very long time, if not ever. We were, to put it in Yu-Gi-Oh terms, we were both feeling the flow there. Like, it was crazy. Game 1, I got absolutely waxed. Mitchell absolutely no-diffed me in game 1, and I was like, I could feel myself losing mental there, and I basically just had to, like, pull myself up and, like, lock the fuck in, because I was like, Travis, you need to stop tilting. I know you're tilted right now. I know you got waxed just now, but this is winnable. You need to bring it back. And so, like, I think the quality of my play in games 2 and 3 went up so dramatically because I was like, I have to use 110% of my brain here in order to beat Mitchell. And so that's what I did.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I want to keep the anime, like, cinematography talk of the match going, where, like, game 1, it's like he gut punched you and it's the, like, cough of blood on the ground. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. He fucking wipes the blood away from his mouth going into game 2.
Yeah, absolutely. There was also there was such a depressing moment in game 2 because I miscounted the amount of walk the dogs that I had in my deck, because I specifically sided 1 out between games 1 and 2, thinking that, like, oh, well, there's a very real chance that at some point I'm forced to build the 9 and then Mitchell flips over and, like, walk the dog is just not as useful as a card, and, like, I don't want to draw it early, so I sided down to 2 walk the dogs, and I saw 1 in my discard pile, and I was like, oh no, I'm out of walk the dogs. And then Mitchell was like, so I was super depressed. I was like, oh, I counted the number of cards in my deck. There's 6 cards left in my deck, and there are no attack cards. Or 7 cards left, and there are no attack cards. So I don't even have a chance to stack and, like, find an attack because there's no attack. So, like, I review this, draw back up. I'm not drawing an attack. I can't kill Mitchell here, and I just lose on the next turn guaranteed because I was at, like, 2 or something. And I was very depressed. I was like, we're so over. It's so
it's so over. Oh, no.
I was like, the protagonist is about to lose to the villain of the tournament, and it's going to be so over. And then I drew back up, and I saw the walk the dog, and I was like, we're so bad. And I played the walk the dog so fast. I was like, yeah, bitch, I've got it. Here's the damage. You can't do anything about it. He was like, yeah, sure, man. We'll go to game 3. And I was like, let's fucking go.
Dude, every time I hear about this matchup, there's more and more content that makes it even better. Like,
yes,
it's crazy.
Yeah, like at one point, Mitchell could literally hear me audibly say it. Like, I literally said, I think I just lose, as he ended his turn, and I started to draw back up. I was like, oh, I think it's just over, man. And then I drew the walk the dog, and we were so back.
Yeah. We have we'll have the graph on screen. We're so over, it's so back.
Yeah, we're so over, we're so back.
And so, we've made it past top 4. We win. We take down the living weapon. We take down our friend Mitch, and now we're going into finals. And who do you see across from you?
So actually, specifically before we go into finals, I do want to talk about Game 3 because Game 3 was arguably the best of the 3 games.
Gotcha.
So my Game 3 against Mitchell was very we were basically playing chess in Game 3. I know at one point on stream, the commentators are like, what is Mitch doing? What is this play? And it was quite literally people are wondering what plays we're making, why we're doing the things we're doing. And they don't realize that if we had made the play that they expected us to make, we would have lost 5 moves ago. And it was literally just that kind of game. At one point, Mitchell starts counting his deck on my kill turn. And he's like, well, there's a specific chance that if I check a 6 on this last block, then I need to specifically get these cards out of my hand. And I can either go for a route where I try to find 2 Bing Bongs off the top and you specifically don't kill me because I live at 2 or something, or I try to make sure that I can check the 6 and block it exactly if I have the 1 block. And at one point, he's just like, I can't. There's no way I'm going to be able to keep this 1 block, and I just need to play for the double Bing Bong out. And so he did that, and it didn't end up working out. He literally flips the top 2 cards off of his deck on stream. Here they are, Travis. And that moment was so intense because I was like, oh, if he flips these 2, I'm just dead. But yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, we were so bad. I think you jump up on stream, you get out of your chair, triumphantly.
Yes, I got up out of my chair. I started running around the room and I screamed fuck at the top of my lungs because that game was so crazy. It was so intense.
Yeah, and watching it was so good. I couldn't see how many counters you had on Krista, but I knew the line you were going for with keeping a momentum for Blue Flame Torment, still having powerful for Walk the Dog. And
yeah. And Mitchell specifically played around that, also knowing that because he's like, well, if you have 3 counters, you're going to go down to 3 counters at the end of your string on this Walk the Dog, so you won't be able to stack as your first enhance and stop me from drawing 2 new cards. And so he knew that. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Mitchell actually gigabrained that. He was 5 steps ahead. It was crazy.
Yeah, and thus the episode ends with our the top 4 episode of this tournament arc ends with Travis moving on into finals. And who does he see across from him?
My teammate Corey Slenderman Nelson. He was he had been dreading it / predicting it since the tournament started. He was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play against Travis in finals and lose. It's fine, it's not a big deal. And just kind of jinxing it, and that's how it ended up happening. And it was so funny because as soon as the match started, we knew Corey was going to lose. As soon as the rounds were paired, Corey knew that there was just no winning the game. And so our match was literally just us screwing around the whole time and just having fun shooting the shit with each other.
Yeah, I was so hoping. So, okay, I wanted you guys to play it out. I knew Krista was likely to win.
Yeah.
But when Corey accidentally drew the 6th card, I was really, in game 2, I was really hoping that he would get a game loss so that you guys could have infinite shit talking of you're like, yeah, man, I beat you in 2-0. I beat you 2-0 in finals. And he's like, doesn't count. We didn't actually play. I would have won games 2 and 3.
Yes. Okay. So it's funny you say that because jokingly, I asked Corey before the match started. I was like, hey, Corey, you want to just scoop to me so that way people can say that I never actually won an event because all my opponents scooped to me in finals because of what happened in St. Louis. And so I asked him, I literally asked Corey, I was like, hey, bro, you should just scoop to me. It would be really funny. Just in the middle of game 2, just scoop and say that you have to go home. I was like, that would be a really funny ongoing bit if you did it. And then Corey was like, no, I want to play it out. I want to give you a real finals. And I was like, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. But the bit would have been epic.
Yes, the bit would have been so funny.
Oh man, yeah. We got to do at least start winding down. So you have any so you've done it. There's but one man standing at the end of this tournament, and he's right here with me, Travis Tangerman. The event is over. I want to ask you, what did this event mean to you?
So I know a lot of people were kind of saying like, oh yeah, Travis showed up to an event he didn't need to go to. He's just here to gatekeep people, like all this other stuff. I showed up because I had something to prove. I was hungry. I want to show that I am the best. Like that is what this event meant to be, was like, statistically speaking, if you win nationals, you are the best player. Like, because even if you win worlds, technically speaking, worlds is a smaller event overall than nationals is. And so winning nats technically on the stats scale means more. And so I was like, I want to win this event. And like, I was just going to show up and try my best, because at a certain level, even though I wanted to win the event, I didn't have to care. And so that just like took all of the stress off of me and just said I was allowed to do kind of whatever I wanted that specific event and just have fun. And so that's what I did. And I was like, I told myself at the start of the day, I know that I am a good enough player that I can just kind of play whatever. And my natural like skill in the game will get me there as long as I play remotely well. And so I will just do my best. And if it's not the result that I wanted, then it's not a big deal. But like, obviously it was more than I could have ever hoped for.
Yeah. Yeah. The, obviously title of the video, the new #1. And all I can think about is the Endeavor scene. You take the mic, just watch me.
Yeah, exactly. That was essentially what happened. I got to do some really cool interviews with not only the UVS Games casting team afterwards, but also the Undefeated at Locals guys. Huge shout outs to them as well. They had an absolutely like warm and welcoming interview for me, so that was very cool. And like, obviously, just like the team, we have just the best team. I love everyone on this team. They are so amazing. They push me to be better than I was before. And I hope that I do the same for them and I have the same effect. And just like, it's just such a wonderful group to be in. I've made so many good friends and lifelong companions from it. It's just, amazing.
Yeah, very well said, man. So Travis got his shout outs in. I'll say the quick, make sure to check out his YouTube channel. Link in the description. Make sure to like and subscribe to MGLA. Check out the website. But, Nash is over. We have our national champion, and we're coming for Worlds. See you this weekend, everybody.
We're on our way. See you, everybody.